Yo, what's up? Welcome to another build guide. So if you know me, I play lots of melee skills, so we can say that I probably played all melee skills in the game, but I haven't actually touched some of those in a long while. So I will try to do those this league actually. So I just started with Infernal Blow. So right now only 10 people plays Infernal Blow and there is no build like this, so I decided to make this version. So Voidforge Omniscience build. So obviously I went for Slayer directly because he is probably the best one for strike clear skills, let's say. The other good options might be maybe Berserker or Chieftain, but for Duelist, Slayer is number one, and overall I believe he is the best for these kind of skills because he can achieve godlike clear speed thanks to the extra melee range, AoE, strike range I mean. So those kind of stuff. So let's just start explaining what the build is. So first of all, Infernal Blow is a skill that actually explodes the monster, so you can just create chain reactions even. That is how you can just clear the entire screen with also Herald of Ash explosions. Make sure you use a good MTX if you can afford one, maybe if you already have one. I'm using the Sun Prism Herald effect, that is my favorite one for Herald of Ash. Simply gorgeous, colorful explosions. So that's pretty much it about the skill. The skill already converts some of the physical to fire, but we are playing with Voidforge Sword, something that most builds do not even use these days, because with Omniscience, I just want to stack attributes, obviously, to get Omniscience, which then gets converted to all elemental resistances and also penetration for all elements. So this means that you need to get attributes Strength, Intelligence, Dexterity, or attributes Percentage, Flat, it doesn't matter. Just stack those on the talent tree and on your items suffixes. Obviously, we also have a synthesized belt implicit for intelligence and percentage intelligence. So those kind of stuff to increase your omniscience. Aim for at least 1000. After that, it starts to feel weaker. So other stats like elemental damage with attacks, percentage damage, let's say, crit multiplier, those kind of stuff actually starts to feel stronger. So we are going to focus on that. Voidforge already has physical as extra random elements, so meaning that you can deal any kind of damage and bam, just penetrate it thanks to Omniscience. So that is the synergy we are using. So this is a sword build, two-handed sword build. We just went for crit strike nodes, elemental nodes, those kind of stuff. So Voidforge also needs some flat damage, so it can be more effective, flat physical, let's say. That's why I'm using Abyssus Helmet. This is very cheap, so just went for the Blood and Sand effect enchant to have bigger AoE explosions, and you just want to use Blood and Sand, obviously that is the buff. And once you press the buff, it goes to red blood stand, so you want to do that on bosses for additional explosion damage. So Blood and Sand only affects Infernal Blow's explosion part, because Infernal Blow actually has two damage portions. One is the melee hit, then the explosions. Once you stack those charges, the enemy actually explodes for another portion of damage. So in Path Building, you will see something like 10 million DPS, 15 million DPS, whatever, on your melee hit. And there's also going to be something like 7 million, 8 million, even 10 million DPS on the explosion part. So actually your DPS is not 10 million alone. You need to just combine the both, I believe, something like that. So the build has more than 20 million DPS in the end. You can even push more DPS. I went for so much defense actually. I'm going to also talk about those. So that's why actually the character has huge physical mitigation. So Abyssus I just simply negate that Abyssus's if physical damage taken increase debuff, let's say. You can easily Facetank, Minotaur, Chimera, those kind of hard physical hitting bosses, Shaper Slam, so those kind of one-shot abilities. Most build just gets one-shotted from those kind of skills and bosses, let's say. You can just face tank all of them. Because we also have replica Farrul's Sphere, but you can just start with a regular Farrul's Sphere or another body armor. This is not a core item or anything. Yes, obviously we buff this a lot thanks to being a Slayer, because we also have Masterful Form. So this way I can just easily generate Frenzy and Endurance charges without doing anything at all thanks to the Aspect of Cat. Make sure on one of your items you have an open suffix and craft Aspect of Cat by using the Farrul, First of the Plains Beast, on an empty suffix on a rare item. I picked an unset ring for that, so I could also put less duration support, so the buff cycles are gonna be faster So that way you can have permanent uptime on your frenzy and endurance charges. You can also obviously put this on your maybe gloves, boots, other ring also. So those are our rare pieces. But that means that you need to get rid of one gem link, let's say, on another skill. So that's why having an unset ring in the end helps a lot. So try to get an unset ring, alright? The stats are always the same, by the way. Resistance, not resistances, attributes, life, elemental damage with attacks, those kind of stats on our items. So the rings are going to be attributes, elemental damage with attacks. If you still need accuracy, this is a attack build obviously, so make sure you have accuracy maybe on one of your items. My gloves actually have accuracy. I'm just going to check it. Yes, I need that accuracy. You need at least one decent accuracy on one of your items, so that is important. If you also want to just reserve a lot of mana, I'm actually, because this is a two-handed build, I have two separate 6-link setups. One is obviously Infernal Blow, the other one is buff setup. I just have Enlighten 3, which is like 3 Exalt right now. I never use Enlighten 4 these days. That's why, yes, only a 3 level is enough, and it is obviously cheaper. And 6-linked buff setup. So we will have Anger for damage, Blood and Sand, already explained that. Let me just check those in Path of Building. Give me a second. Precision for hit chance and crit strike chance. If you already kept your hit chance, you can use a lower level precision, so you can be easier on your mana. Herald of Ash for clear and more DPS obviously, and Determination for armor. So the character also has more than 20k armor, 6 endurance charges, Fortify. Also being a Slayer also have some damage reduction from the Slayer Ascendancy. So that is how you can be super tanky against physical damage and just can easily face tank most of the hard hitting physical abilities, even though we are wearing an Abyssus helmet, alright? Rest of the pieces. Boots, again, attributes, it doesn't matter what you pick. Just pick intelligence, dex, strength, it doesn't matter. Just get some combination, so try to aim for more attributes total, let's say. Life and movement speed is also very important. And one thing about this, the character is also ailment immune, something that is hard to do and a Slayer actually. But right now in 3.17, thanks to the Archnemesis League and the new influence types, Searing Exarch and Hydra of Worlds, you can actually easily put ailment avoidance on the implicits. Normally you can go for more DPS because boots have action speed, physical damage has extra fire, those kind of good DPS stats, but we don't need those. Build can already deal a good amount of damage, DPS let's say, and can clear all bosses. I just haven't went for Feared, I believe, because these kind of true melee skills actually struggle a little bit on Feared, because the time to attack the bosses actually is super low, because you just waste most of your time dodging stuff. You cannot just face tank a Chayula and a Cortex at the same time, most of the time, let's say, because one of them just uses a one-shot ability, you need to dodge. So the DPS window is super limited. That's why I don't try a Feared on these kind of builds most of the times. So yeah, that is the only boss that I probably haven't tried. You can just kill any other boss easily. You can maybe even do Feared, by the way. You have 6 portals, just go and try. Yeah. So that's why I just focused on avoid elemental ailments. So in the end, your boots also should have an open suffix if you just want to be ailment immune, to be super tanky. Plus, use the new orbs, Searing Exarch and Hydra of Worlds, to put more avoid ailment on the implicits. You can skip avoid being ignited because you can actually get that on the talent tree. This just saves us 1 point. But you definitely need to put that avoid elemental ailments 15% at least, or something like that. So in the end, the character is also immune. The rest is on the talent tree again. Yeah. Belt, already mentioned it a little bit. Percentage, something, strength, dex or intelligence, it doesn't matter. I was lucky and also found something with avoid being shocked, which again saved me another 1 point on the talent tree. If you don't get those on your boots and belt, you need to spend extra 2 points on the talent tree. So maybe you need to get rid of some DPS. Yeah, that's pretty much it about that avoid ailment. Again, for the belt you need attributes. Belts can already roll strength, that's why use essence with that provides, let's say, intelligence or dexterity, sorrow and spite essences, I believe, until you hit strength, and maybe some good prefixes, life or elemental damage with attacks. Again, I'm telling you, this build doesn't need any elemental resist on the gear. You just kept your elemental resistances with the Omniscience and Endurance charges. And this is about the belt. So that's because you don't need elemental resistances, you can just focus on chaos resist on some of your items. That's why I picked Amethyst Ring. Try to get my gloves with chaos resist, those kind of stuff. So you try to push that chaos resist so you don't actually get one-shotted. You do not have to keep your chaos resist, it is pretty much useless, especially if you are playing in softcore. Just make sure you try to make your chaos resistance maybe positive. Even -5 or 10 is enough. There is no way you can actually get one-shotted with that resistances. Just try to squeeze in a little bit, because game is actually balanced. Chaos damage actually doesn't hit you that much. Even with -60, you sometimes do not even die to chaos damage. So that's why just try to get a little bit on your pieces, and you will just feel very safe against most chaos damage types, let's say. And final piece, yeah. So this is the most expensive piece. You need to craft this on your own if you want, because the trade results are mostly super expensive or maybe bad ones. So here is how to craft this. You will probably miss the strength or maybe one of the resistance, I'm not sure. So because the suffixes are actually a little RNG based, so you can just use another example, but the prefixes are always gonna be the same because that is what you need. Because this is a replica Farrul build plus masterful form, we want frenzy charges, so they can actually be equal to endurance charges. So more DPS and defense. So frenzy charges are on warlord bases. You can just get that with alteration orbs or just buy a gloves with frenzy charges on it, but that must be the only influence modifier, because we want to use Awakener orb to combine both influences. The other influence is strike skill target, additional enemy on hunter bases. Right now, Orb of Dominance, it was Maven's Orb. Right now, its name has changed into Orb of Dominance. It is a drop from, I believe, all endgame pinnacle bosses. Because I actually got lots of orbs from Shaper Farm. I already put a video about that. Made more than 100 Exile profit in a week. With the orbs and other stuff you get from Shaper. So you can get orb from Shaper, Sirus, I believe Elder. But most of the pinnacle bosses can actually drop Dominance Orb. That's why it is not actually that expensive. It is right now 1.5 Exalt. Maven Orb was like 5 Exalt on the previous leagues. That's why it is cheaper to try strike skills target 2 additional nearby enemies, which is the elevate modifier. It is normally +1 additional enemies. So if you have the budget, use Maven Orbs or just buy the gloves from someone else with elevated 2 additional nearby. Then use Awakener Orb with frenzy charges and combine both of the modifiers into a single gloves. Because these two modifiers are already prefixes, the suffixes are going to be obviously completely random. You can actually work on the suffixes later on. You can buy Harvest Craft, keep prefixes and reforge suffixes, something like that. So you can just reroll the suffixes or use prefixes cannot be changed from the crafting bench for 1 or 2 Exalt, I believe the price. So prefixes cannot be changed. Then go for Harvest and get Reforge a rare with attack modifiers or maybe chaos modifiers. So whatever you want to try getting, let's say. If you use attack, you can get accuracy, attack speed. I believe melee strike range, something like that also happens on the suffixes on warlord bases. If you use chaos, you will guaranteed get a chaos resist, I believe. So make sure you lock the prefixes with prefixes cannot be changed and get a Harvest Craft, depending on what you want. If you are lucky, you will also hit another more stats on the suffixes. I was lucky and also got strength, accuracy. This gloves was crazy, but you don't actually need those, obviously. You will maybe miss a little bit DPS. You can even get accuracy on rings. You don't need accuracy on your gloves, alright? That is what I'm trying to explain. You don't need this much crazy gloves, actually. So that is how to craft your gloves. There are already examples on the market without the same stats, obviously. Just type Frenzy, 2 strike additional, and something else. This gloves also misses life. Maybe you can also type that. So there are lots of results. People try this stuff. And that's pretty much it about the gloves. I just went for the usual spike gloves for melee damage. If you want to bother using the new influenced orbs, you can also put... Ah, no, you cannot do that. Alright, I'm sorry. Yeah. You cannot do that because this is already an influenced item. Alright. Just scratch that final part. Yes, spike gloves are your best options for melee damage. And moving on, alright. That's pretty much it about the gear. And the whole synergy, how this build works. Just take a look at we will just take a look at the talent tree, yeah, real quick, and that's gonna be the end. So this is a duelist build. This is how to get the elemental avoidance notables. As you can see, avoid shield frozen, avoid ailments. As you can see, I skipped these 2 points because I will just show those again. My boots have avoid ignite on the implicit. You can just craft it easily with some orbs. Just use the cheapest one, it doesn't matter. You just need like 10% or 15% or something. Even the worst one is like 30%, I believe. And there is that ignite and there is the shock. If you just miss any of these, just make sure you spend extra points so you can be ailment immune completely. You can also get free corrupted immunity here. So actually, I focused on some defense. As you can see, resistances here, resistances here. My character has 80 fire res, 78, 78 other resistances, and almost positive chaos res, which is enough so I don't die. More than 20k armor. As you can see, 88% physical damage reduction because we also have 6 endurance charges. Effective max hit taken 62k, which is huge. So this character is unkillable as long as you don't roll your maps and those Maven invitations super hard. You can just face tank most of the stuff. Because we also use Blood of Karyu Flask, which heals you to full life after 2.4 seconds, I believe. If you can just prepot, let's say, before the Sirus die beam, something like that, you can even face tank that. Face tank Maven's Cascade of Pain ability. We don't have any suppress spell. You can even maybe go for that on your equipment if you are a good crafter or if you want to spend even more. The talent tree is already near the suppress notables. If you think you need less DPS for whatever you are doing, or maybe you have a better gear so you already have more DPS compared to me, let's say, you can even get these suppress notes here. So just from the talent tree we have 52 suppress spell, but obviously you need to get rid of like 10 points. And that is something that you can work on. If you also want suppress, this build can be easily unkillable with even more investment against spells. Especially, we are already super tanky against physical damage. So sword build, we also get attributes, obviously strength here, dex here. These are all gonna be omniscience, obviously. And what else? Nothing else to explain on the talent tree. I will just check the jewels, alright. So first of all, interrogation. This is super expensive right now because of the omniscience meta. This is a very good way to increase this build's DPS because this is like a non-meta build combination, let's say. Without this jewel, you lose lots of DPS. So you must make sure you buy this jewel. It is right now 10 Exile, the prices are going down, but as soon as someone else puts an Omniscience video with this, bam, the price goes up again. So it's gonna be messy, this league in Arch Nemesis. So make sure you save for this and make sure you buy this jewel before starting playing the build. So this way, because we are dealing all kinds of elements, we can actually apply all the new ailments, Torch, Brittle, and Sept. Sept is for defense, by the way, so you can even tank more, let's say. Brittle applies plus crit strike chance against the enemy, so that's how you can actually cap your crit strike chance. My crit is 100% once I applied that Brittle. You can actually even apply 13%, 14% Brittle. I just type 10 because my crit is already capped. You can also go for 13 because that is what the character applies actually. That's it. Of course, lets us penetrate more. So the build doesn't even need any penetration. So do not try getting penetration on your gear, let's say. You don't need it. Omniscience already provides lots of penetration. And that's Scorch, obviously. So this is what the jewel does. Only a large cluster, one large. This is a popular combination. There are lots of results. It can also be attack base, large cluster. It can be sword base. I believe it can also be two-handed if that happens, the same stat, let's say. We just want the usual stuff, Feed the Fury for attack leech, so we don't have to waste any points on the talent tree. Plus Slayer can over leech and have endless leech effects. That's why those leeching effects are gonna be permanent up. You know, have uptime, permanent uptime. So Feed the Fury for life leech and those DPS stats, Fuel the Fight for mana leech, and again more stuff while leeching. So these two are simply broken on Slayer builds. And finally for the suffix martial prowess, attack speed, attack damage, global accuracy. So easier to cap your accuracy. Again, this is a popular combination. There are lots of results. This was like 3 Exalt. Just go and buy one. Again, the base can be different as long as it works for two-handed swords. only one cluster. If you go for more clusters, you can achieve more DPS. But again, I just went for lots of resistances, ailment avoidance, those kind of stuff. I wanted to be super tanky. More stuff. Watcher's Eye. I picked Anger because it is super cheap. This was a double Watcher's Eye and I paid 3 Exile for it. So if you are lucky, just hurry up and buy one before the prices go up. We use Anger, Precision, Determination. You can even use Hatred if you have an Hatred Watcher's Eye. Because Hatred can also provide decent DPS, because this sword already has some flat physical. So we also deal cold damage. So more cold damage and physical extra cold will both work thanks to the Hatred buff. So you can get Hatred, Precision, those kind of, or double Hatred combinations, but they are more expensive. Again, this was 3 Exalt. Any double Hatred combination is at least 15 Exalt. Maybe even more right now, I'm not sure. I haven't checked for a long time. And that's why Anger is in the end cheaper. So try to get some good Precision Anger combinations, or just get a single modifier and upgrade your build later on. You can do like map farm, harvest farm, boss farm, every kind of farm with this build. Just go and farm your money. So just continue adding on to your build, alright? This is a super fun and effective build to min max. And finally, yeah, Forbidden Flames. So first of all, I was an idiot and bought Masterful Forms. I actually haven't thought about checking the other notables. So normally we obviously need Bane of Legends for more damage. Brutal Fervor for unending leech effects. Endless Hunger for cannot be stunned. And also this character is immune to bleeding, by the way. Not immune, but unaffected. You will still get that bleed on you, but you will be immune to the damage. So you also don't need any bleed flask or whatever. We are also immune to corrupt blood from the talent tree. So technically we are immune to most of the stuff in the game, let's say. That's what makes this build super tanky. Impact for accuracy, strike range, damage, plus those kind of stuff. And finally, Masterful Form for the replica Farrul. Again, you can just start with a regular Farrul or another body armor. Just don't get Masterful Form, alright? So that's why you can actually get another Forbidden Flame if you want to min-max your build. So I just checked yesterday, Impact was 3 Exalt for some reason. Masterful Form is 10 Exalt, the red ones. The blue ones are always cheaper for some reason. I still don't know why. The red boss is for some reason more expensive. I still don't know why. That makes no sense. That's why actually you can get Impact, or maybe this is also cheap. I actually haven't checked Endless Hunger. To just get another Jewel, because again, Masterful Form is more expensive. I was an idiot and bought that. But I also wanted to use this on a future build. Maybe I will do a champion build with Replica Farrul. I'm not sure. That's why I will probably stick to this. By the way, I still haven't sold my build. If you want to buy this build, just contact me. But it's gonna be expensive because some of the pieces are self-crafted and doesn't even exist on the market. Never mind, moving on. Yeah, that's about the Forbidden Flame and Flash combination. Just get a good notable in the end to min-max your build. To get another Ascendancy node. But again, do not get Masterful Form. It is a waste of money. Just check Impact or this one. That's pretty much it about the build. I find it time consuming to talk about the gems. But I don't know, Infernal Blow. Awaken Elemental Damage lets you do reflect maps. That's pretty much it. Obviously also provides more DPS. We deal all kind of damage, so obviously Trinity support for resonance count. Make sure you type 50 here for the resonance to get calculated. Otherwise your DPS will be something like this. Just bam, lots of the DPS has gone. So this is how to count the Trinity support gem. Most people forget to type it here, that's why they miss their DPS. Close combat, obviously very good for sword builds, and this is already a melee skill, yeah. Multi-strike diversion for more attack speed. Fortify, so I don't need to waste 4 points on the talent tree. Because my tree is already all over the place for these ailment avoidance stuff, attributes and those kind of stuff. So 4 points was super important, that's why I ended up using a Fortify support. Which is super cheap, no one uses this, just buy a 21 to 20. This was like 30 gas. So free Fortify. Buffs already explained, Enlighten 3 setup on another 6 link. For the curse, Assassin Mark on it. This is a new support that just applies the curse automatically once you attack. Make sure you use life tap, so it actually consumes life, otherwise it consumes like 60 something mana. I don't even have that much mana. I just reserved it a lot at a point where I am comfortable, let's say. If you don't use life tap, this doesn't work, or you need more mana. And this just applies on rare and unique enemies every 4 seconds. Even if the enemy has mark already, it just keeps refreshing it. It is stupid. It is just a coding mistake, I believe, because that is not how the assassin mark rings worked. They just removed those rings right now. That's why they added this support. This shouldn't trigger all the time, you know, on the single target. That is simply, I believe, a wrong coding. They need to fix that someday, I hope. So that's why life tap in the end, so it doesn't have any mana cost. Molten Shell on left mouse button, it just provides more than 3000 absorption. You can even get Wild Molten Shell if you want, if you also bother pressing that for a cooldown, obviously more absorb. And that is how to use that. Enhanced setup for Ancestral Protector Phantasmal for additional attack speed on boss fights. Enhanced obviously increases the attack speed more because it provides more buff effect. Enhanced is a support that provides quality of support active skill jumps. Also Blood Rage for additional attack speed. Actually, I stopped using Blood Rage, and maybe you haven't seen any Blood Rage on any of the clips. So actually my link was empty. Because I just didn't want that degeneration. I just didn't want to lose regeneration, whatever. And that's why I ended up stopped using Blood Rage. So one of my sockets was actually empty on maybe like 90% of the clips you watched. So even less DPS. You can even achieve more DPS, alright? If you want to use Blood Rage, and that's it. A totem setup, another totem setup, Wall, obviously. Lip Slam is the movement speed that is the best for these kind of builds. And finally, restoration in your aspect of cat item. That's it. I already explained most of this stuff. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel. I do lots of end game powerful guides. That is what we do in this channel. I also have a Discord channel. If you missed that, just join. And if you want to talk to me and other players, we have lots of members. If you want to support the channel, make sure you can just, let's say, become a Patreon member. The cheapest package is like $3. So I'm trying to save money to buy better equipment, obviously. Also, if you're a Patreon member, just message me in my Discord with your name so I can give you that rank on my Discord channel so other people can also see that you are a Patreon member. We can do that. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. More builds are coming soon. I will see you later. Bye bye.